kind of an austerity to be there. But okay. So.
So, yeah, I think you were sent some a question for today, a topic for today, isn't it?
Yeah. Dealing with our stuff.
Dealing with our stuff, yeah, that's the point.
So, I think we need to define why we're dealing with it and what the stuff is that we're dealing with. Why to deal with it in the first place. So are we ready? Should I start?
So the Berlin temple is ready, that's for sure.
Okay. I'm going to pin the Berlin temple so I can see you all. If it allows me to do it. No, I can't.
You can't pin us?
Reason I can't.
So?
Anyway, we'll go as it is.
Okay.
I only see little faces in the dark in the Berlin temple.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I can't unpin you. If you figure that out, let me know.
It worked for me with double click, but you know that probably.
I double click and it just takes me off the Zoom page. Anyway, I'll survive. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvises Sunyavadi Paschatya Satarine Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. So Melanie and I were going through different topics and she was asking different devotees what they wanted to talk about. And there were a few things that came up. But then we settled on this. Basically, I think it was how to deal with life and be Krishna conscious. Is that kind of what it is like? As I've often said, life happens, unfortunately. In the spiritual world, life happens, but it's different than in this world. So life happens. I want to begin by talking about a book written by a former Buddhist monk, and some of you may know him. He's an American. He's a writer, and the book has a very funny title. He was a monk, and then he left the monkhood, and he married and brought his Buddhism to the world. He's one of the spokespersons for Buddhism for the Western world. His name is Jack Kornfield. He's probably my age, maybe a little older. And so during the 60s, a lot of people went through the spiritual path. Some took it through Buddhism, some through Hinduism, some through Kundalini Yogi Bhajan, some through King Karoli Baba, and different paths. There's another group called Ananda Marg. So all these people took different paths, and there was a lot of similarities. And the similarities in all those groups, they're trying to renounce the world, detach from it, and you have to live in it also. It's a real challenge. So we're not the only ones dealing with it. And the Christians say, be in the world but not of the world, isn't it? Something like that? Yeah, be in the world but not of the world. So this Buddhist...
Sorry, Prabhu, to interrupt you. May I ask, does anyone else has this cracking noise? This very...
it's probably because of... It's my internet.
Okay.
If I take off my webcam, you're gonna see me like looking down on you like I'm standing above you, but
We don't mind.
that will stop the cracking. Hold on a second. I'm gonna make an adjustment. So if you let me make this adjustment, then I can. My internet is like, it's not super good. So I'm gonna pull this camera out, and then I'll go back, start the video, and we should get I have to wait a while to see if my computer will detect a camera. But let me talk, and otherwise it may not detect the camera. I may have upset my computer. But now you can hear me, right? Better?
Yeah, there's
Yes?
some cracking in between, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know why. It shouldn't. Bad internet connection, I guess. Okay.
Okay, then we just go on like this.
Okay, so I don't. Yeah, it's like my computer freaked out. It thinks it doesn't have a camera. So, if you give me 1 second, I can try to get the camera. And if not, then no webcam is detected. Yeah, the computer is not happy. It's not detecting. Yeah. Okay. So this will be a little bit like a radio show then, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Krishna,
So
it's a Hare Krishna podcast.
okay, that's me in Mayapur by the Jalangi, in case you're wondering. So you can meditate on Mayapur. So, so the name of his book was, or still is, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. So what does that mean? So it means he describes, somebody sent me the audio. I never read the book, and I listened maybe to the first lecture. I thought it was quite interesting. He said that there's a tradition amongst all religions to go on retreats, and you get very deeply into your practice, deeply into your meditation. You get a lot of realizations. And he interviewed monks, he interviewed nuns, priests, congregation, everybody who went very deeply in some transcendental way, whatever it is. And then after the retreat, they had to come back to the world and deal with it. And it was such a dichotomy, and it was so difficult. And his point was, no matter how high you go, you still have to do your laundry. Yes? You notice that, right? Your laundry doesn't go away after a good 16 rounds. It doesn't like clean itself, right? Today my rounds were so good, my laundry just jumped in the washing machine and cleaned itself, and the vegetables cut themselves, and everything just happened. So, we're blissful, we're in Vrindavan, we're in Mayapur, we're having a festival, Radhastami, Janmashtami, Balaram's appearance day. Everything is ecstatic. Then you have to come home, and there's 3 weeks of laundry on the floor. You have to deal with it. You have to deal with your stuff, but that's just external. You understand the Germans? You understand the word stuff, the English word stuff? It's just generic term. How would you explain it, Rebecca, to a German? What would you tell the Germans that stuff mean? What does stuff mean?
Hare Krishna. stuff, just maybe everything, like all of your extra stuff is all of your extra stuff.
All the stuff you don't want to deal with, basically. I mean, that's what we're talking about now. It's all the difficult stuff, the details, the letter from the bank, it's saying you're overdrawn. Oh my God, I forgot to make that deposit. Yeah, the note from the doctor that, there's some problem here with your blood test. We have to talk to you. The transmission on your car just falls out. That's $1,000. All that stuff. But that's just external. That's only the tip of the iceberg. But then you have the internal stuff. All your doubts, all your fears, all your resentments, all your envy, all the people that bother you, all the things that bother you, etc. So that comes under to the mantra that I gave that to all of that is life happens. So in the midst of life happening, we have to maintain balance so we can be Krishna conscious. And so I think the most important thing in this discussion is just to understand why I should be Krishna conscious in the first place. Because once I get that inspiration, then dealing with the stuff is easy. Otherwise, stuff is always there, and stuff will always try to distract you. And Maya's job is to distract you. Have you ever gone, you've been out in your backyard, and then you go in your house. You say, I have to go in my house and get some scissors so I can cut the roses. And you go in the house, and then this happens, and that happens, and you completely forget to get the scissors and go back. Has that ever happened to you? You just, life happens. And it's like, why did I come in the house? I can't, a half hour later, why did I come in here? So life is constantly distracting us. And Srila Prabhupada said one of the job descriptions of Maya, it's like we could do a play. Okay, I'm hiring you, Maya. This is what I want you to do. Here's your job description. I want you to distract everyone. And if they become interested in Krishna, make sure you distract them, especially when they chant japa. That's the best time to distract them. Because if you can distract them during japa, pretty much you can distract them anytime. So Maya's like, okay, that's my job. I'm going to distract them. Maya, your job is to put ideas in their head that some things will make them happy, that will never make them happy. And you can distract them with that. Put some fears in their head, put some envy in their head. Make them think that everyone in the world is happy except them. So Maya's she's got 108 ways to convince you that something's wrong with you, so that you could start lamenting and becoming depressed, so you won't think of Krishna. So now, you all know this. I don't have to tell you all the ways she distracts you, because you have a mind and a heart, and you have laundry also. So I always tell my wife, life would be so simple if we didn't eat. That would eliminate going to the store. It would eliminate a lot of time working, because you wouldn't need money. It would eliminate cooking, cleaning the pots, cleaning the dishes, and also you don't have to go to the bathroom anymore. So, life is just stop eating. Life will be so much more simple, right? And although that sounds funny, that's what the Goswamis did. They stopped eating and stopped sleeping, basically. They simplified. So, you may know this story. It's so funny. There was a machine that came out during Prabhupada's time. It's called a telex machine. So it was a typewriter on steroids. And this typewriter, most of you aren't maybe old enough to ever have heard or seen. Maybe you've heard of it, but haven't seen it. It was like a step up from a Morse code. What's that called? Morse code, dash, they used in World War II. You know about that? You'd send messages, dash, dot, dash. And there was
Morse
the codes were words.
It's
What's it
called
called?
Morse code.
Yeah, Morse code. But what was the machine called? Anyway, so this was like, now we have a typewriter, but the typewriter's connected to the phone line. And so I'm typing on my end. If you have a telex machine on your end, it'll type it out on your end. So what I'm typing is also typing on your computer. And that way we can communicate in real time. And those of you who are 20 or 30 are thinking, oh my Govinda, that is so primitive. That was the forerunner of the fax machine, and the fax machine is a forerunner of email. So the devotees are all excited. We're very technologically savvy. We're cutting edge. And they said, Prabhupada, we're going to get these telex machines. And Prabhupada said, you'll just use it to gossip. Don't get them. So Prabhupada just saw it's just going to be another distraction. You know, it's like Maya's just throwing this in front of you. Now, you see this? Well, I can't show it to you. I was going to show you my phone. Okay, look at your phone if you have one. That is one of the biggest distraction devices that you're ever going to deal with in your lifetime. I recommend fasting from phone on Sunday. Get a little box, lock it in the box, give your neighbor the key and tell them, don't give me this key back even if I beg for it. Don't give me this key back till tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Then I'll open the box, you know. Fasting from your phone. So I think I heard something really funny today. On this little phone, which is like 4 inches by 2 inches, you have all the Vedas. Isn't that amazing? And what else do you have on this phone? You know, you got a lot of other things on the phone, aside from all the Vedas. And this person was joking. He said, yeah, you also have the worst cat videos ever made. It's also on the same phone. Right? And you have all kinds of distractions on the phone. So lately, we've been reading from Prabhupada's letters. And what has come up from these letters, by reading letter after letter after letter, what has come up is the theme that Prabhupada has come to take us back to Godhead. And I was thinking about this morning. You know, everybody's thinking, what's the purpose of life? And I was thinking, you don't even have to think about what your purpose is. You just have to know what Prabhupada's purpose is, and his purpose is your purpose. So Prabhupada's purpose was he came to America to save every one of us. And then he sent devotees around the world. He came to save every one of us, to take every one of us back to Godhead. So that is our mission in life. It's been given to us by Prabhupada. He's allowed us to have that mission. So once you have that mission to go back to Godhead, then anything that gets in the way of that can be called a distraction, right? Otherwise, what's a distraction? How will you know what's a distraction unless you know where you're going? If I say, Devananda, let's go for a walk. And he says, where? I said, doesn't matter, just walk. He's like, okay. So we can't get diverted because we don't even have a path where we're going. We're just walking just for exercise. Oh, we'll walk here, we'll walk there. We're not going anywhere, right? So many people's lives are like that. So they don't even know they're distracted because everything's their whole life it's not going anywhere. So now here Prabhupada gives us very clear, your goal is to go back to Godhead. And anything that's getting in the way of going back to Godhead is a distraction. Does that make sense? Right? It may not seem like a distraction, but it is because it's getting in the way, right? Correct? Billy Lynn, correct? Yes?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
If this is ignorant, please excuse me, but I'm just beginning.
Okay.
I feel like I am embarrassed to ask the question.
You sure you want to ask it?
I feel like if I want to go back to Godhead, I'm feeling like I'm too embarrassed to ask.
Feeling like it's a personal motivation and I should not want to go back to Godhead?
I should wish for Krishna to be happy.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that make me happy to
But
go back to him?
It
Do
will
you know
make,
what I mean?
it will make him happy if you go back. So therefore you should want to go back because he'll be happy. It'll make Prabhupada happy if you go back. It'll make your spiritual master happy if you go back. So
it would make Krishna happy if I went back.
yeah. And if Krishna tells you go to hell and preach there, you're like, okay. You might say, but Krishna, I'm already in hell. You know, the whole world's become hell. And I'll say, yeah, we have more hells for you if you want. So wherever Krishna wants you to go, whatever he wants you to do, that's what we do. So that's my point. Prabhupada wants us to go back to Godhead. And we were reading yesterday, Prabhupada said, don't make me come back to get you. So that was pretty clear. Look, I'm coming to get you. So Prabhupada, I'll do whatever you want. Okay, I want you to go back to Godhead. Now, if I want to go back to Godhead, it's because Prabhupada wants me to go back to Godhead. So that's good, right? Yes? That's why do you want to go back to God? Well, there are other reasons. I don't like cold weather. And I heard the weather's good in Vaikuntha. Oh, okay, that's a good reason, yeah. There are other reasons. You know, I heard the pakors are better up there. And you can eat as many as you want. And the best thing I like about it is I don't have to work. Plus, Bhagavatam class never ends. Not only that, you're not hearing about the Bhagavatam class, you're in the Bhagavatam class. You are the Bhagavatam class. It all sounds good, therefore I want to go there. Well, those are also some good reasons. Yeah, telegraph machine, yeah, exactly. So those are also good reasons to go, but the ultimate reason is Prabhupada wants us to go. Okay, so we established Prabhupada wants us to go back to Godhead. Now, what is a deviation? What is a distraction? What does it mean to deal with my stuff? It means to deal with my stuff in a way that it doesn't inhibit that journey, that I can still deal with it and use it and purify it and process it and heal it and whatever I have to do with it so that journey can continue. And it's going to be different for everybody because some people do not have to process certain things that others do. Some people do not have to deal with things that others do. All of you have different samskars, different habits, different attitudes, different impressions, different abilities, different ways you see the world. And so the way you deal with something will be different from the way another person deals with it. What you see as a problem, someone else may not see as a problem, and vice versa. But let me illustrate with a story. And this is one of my favorite stories. So there's a devotee, he's having a lot of difficulty being Krishna conscious. And he didn't talk to Prabhupada about it, but other disciples who liked him talked to Prabhupada about it and said, Prabhupada, this devotee's having such a hard time. And this devotee's so sincere, but he's having such a hard time. And he's not able to follow. And they mentioned something to Prabhupada about he's sincere, this combination, sincere but weak. You've probably seen that, right? Have you ever seen a sincere devotee who just really has a hard time struggling with something? Because the world is one big addiction. I'm addicted to playing my guitar. I'm addicted to, spending money. I'm addicted to eating chocolate. I'm addicted to watching stupid videos, whatever it is. We all have weaknesses. So they said to Prabhupada, he's trying to follow, but he's weak. And Prabhupada said something really beautiful. And I think we can apply this to any problem we're having. And Prabhupada said, why are you giving in to the weakness? Because they were trying to say, well, the reason he's having trouble is he's weak. And Prabhupada's saying, well, if you're having trouble because you're weak, maybe you should do something. Hello? Maybe you should do something about the weakness. I think it's kind of obvious, isn't it? But sometimes things are so obvious that we miss them. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how sometimes it's so obvious. It's like, oh, I never thought of that. Maybe you could do something about the weakness. Oh, I never thought of that. I thought the weakness was eternal. It's something like that. So this is a beautiful thought to remember, that, you know, I'm sure every devotee, everyone who becomes a devotee, thinks there's something about them that is handicapping them severely, and that problem that they have that is severely handicapping them is unique. Nobody but them has the problem. At least nobody has it to the degree they have. Every devotee thinks that way, right? So right now, think of that problem that you have, that you believe, Prabhu, if you ever got in my mind, you would have nightmares. It would be a horror movie. You can't imagine how bad. You can't imagine what I think. You don't know what I did before I was a devotee, etc. Everybody has their story, right? Isn't it? You have one. You have one, Devananda. You have one, Rebecca. You have one, Diane, Billy Lynn, Vijayla. Everybody. If you knew what I did. Yeah, we all have. And every one of us thinking, okay, I'm uniquely messed up. And the truth is, no, you are not uniquely messed up. You are just unique individual, but you're not that unique, because I can guarantee whatever problem you have, everybody has. And I can guarantee that not everyone has it to the degree that you have, but I can guarantee you there's a lot of devotees who have it worse. So don't convince yourself that I have it so bad that I can't do anything about it. It's not true. And so if we remember Prabhupada's instruction, it's basically like you're telling me I have this problem, and Prabhupada is saying, so what are you doing about it? And you say, Prabhupada, I'm not doing anything. And Prabhupada's looking at you like he doesn't believe you just said that. But that's our situation, because we think, well, I'm so bad, there's nothing to do, it's not fixable, and so forth. But it is. And we should never think it isn't. So my point is that we started with the premise that Prabhupada wants us to go back to Godhead. And if that becomes our goal in life, this is what I have to do, then I'll be able to manage, I'll figure out how to manage everything in my life, so I will be able to do that. Now, I could tell you how to do it, but I'd rather give you the tools where you discover it yourself, because I think that's more powerful for you. So what did Prabhupada say? Time and time and time again and again and again, he said, Krishna will give you intelligence. Have you read that before? Have you heard Prabhupada say that? Be sincere, Krishna will give you intelligence. That means you have your own GPS guiding you. So you have a built-in GPS. You just have to plug in the right questions. If you plug in the wrong questions to the GPS, it's going to take you to the wrong place. I think sometimes we plug in the wrong questions, or we plug in the wrong statements. We tell the GPS, I can never do this. The GPS says, okay, we're going nowhere. Right? And you tell the GPS, okay, this is going to be hard, but I want to go back to Godhead. The GPS says, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And the GPS says, are you ready to do it? Because it may not always be easy. And you say, yes, I'm ready to do it. And then the GPS guides you. Okay, go to this street, turn right, do this. So Krishna will guide you step by step, street by street. And if you know that, then you go back to Prabhupada's statement, why is he giving into weakness? Because now you realize, I don't have to give into the weakness. There's a way to do it. Let me give an example. The greatest weakness anybody can have is deeply conditioned habits. And if they're really deeply conditioned, they become addictions. You just do it unconsciously. And if it's something that's bad for you, if it's an addiction, you can't break it. And so you think, I'll never break it. This is the way I am. But the fact is, people break addictions all the time, but they don't do it on their own. They need another strategy. So a lot of times when you have a problem, you think, I've tried to solve this problem and I still have it, and you kind of want to give up, and you just allow yourself to be distracted or encumbered by that problem. But it's very important to understand, if you're trying to solve a problem and you're not successful, you need another strategy. You need help. In the world of addiction, you can't do it on your own. You need a group. You need group support. You need a different environment. So people who are dealing with heavy addictions, alcohol, drugs, sexual addictions, etc., they go into groups to get support. And in those groups, they get mentors that they talk to every day. They have meetings as many times a week as they need. They have literature. They have so much support, they can break it. But on their own, they can't. So a lot of times we think, oh, Maya's so strong, I can't conquer her. We need to think different strategy. Krishna, help me with this. Guide me. Tell me what to do. And then you get a different strategy. So Krishna will give you that intelligence. And this is a big problem for many of us, because if you're struggling with something, with some stuff of yours, and you've been failing, it's so easy to think, I'll never conquer this. I'm worse than others. I'm incredibly fallen, and so forth. When in fact is you just need a different strategy, a different way of looking at it, a different understanding of it. Let me give you another example. As many of you know, I started a forgiveness course, maybe like 15 years ago. And I figured out if you follow certain steps, it will cause you to change so much that you'll just forgive this person. No matter what they did, no matter how long you were holding on, you will let them go by going through the steps. But the steps are not obvious. If you just read Prabhupada's books, it's not so obvious. So you may be struggling with resentment, thinking, oh, I can never forgive this person. But then you come to the workshop, you go through the steps, and you let it go. So life is like that. That one strategy may not work, but another will. And so if the idea is Prabhupada is given the mandate, we should go back to Godhead. Therefore, I have to figure out how to do that. And I have to figure out how to deal with all the distractions and all the things in my life in a way that I can do this. So, those of you who are experienced devotees, you know your sadhana is the most important thing. How you begin your day, the quality of your rounds, the time you spend reading and reflecting, you know that's essential. And so, therefore, one of the ways Maya is going to try to deviate you is to interrupt that. If she can get you to be distracted while you chant, if she could get you to finish your rounds at midnight so they're really bad, if she can put a million little things on your to-do list that aren't really that important, that take up time, that takes you away from hearing, reading, studying, Sangha programs, Maya's sitting there laughing at you going, I got this guy, I got this girl. This is a piece of cake, as we say in America. This is very easy. Because now I've deviated them from their sadhana. So now they're weak. So once they're weak, they're like a sitting duck. You know the example? You have that example in Germany? He's like a sitting duck. A guy's shooting ducks, so the ducks are moving. So it's hard to get them if they're moving, especially if they're moving fast. But if they're sitting, it's easy. So once your sadhana is weak, you're a sitting duck for Maya's rifle. But if your sadhana is strong, it's like you're moving, so it's hard to get you. So I often joke with devotees, but I think it's helpful to think like this. I say, imagine Krishna appointed you with a job, with Maya's job today. So, Rebecca, today you are now Maya Devi. And your job is to see if you can get all the devotees into Maya. So, she goes to the temple, and during japa, she starts talking and gossiping and criticizing. And, the GBC, what they say. Yeah, we should revolt. We should start our own movement. And you actually think, what would I do if I were Maya? I would totally destroy their japa. I'd try to get them out of Bhagavatam class. I would criticize everybody. I would gossip. And so once you do this little exercise and you think about it, it's amazing because you realize that's what Maya's doing all the time. I'd get them to go shopping and buy like 100,000 things they don't need, and put them in debt so they have to work 2 jobs so they have no time. And I would get them to buy a house that's bigger than they can afford, a car more expensive than they can afford, so they'll just be working. You just go down the list. What would I do? And then I would invite the beautiful girls from Sweden to come to the morning program. And that should take care of all the brahmacharis, in like 25 seconds. They're finished. So so it's good to be aware of what the distractions are, and all the new apps and the new programs and the new phones and it's just one thing after another. Maybe I should get that, and I was gonna buy something, and I was looking at it, and it would take so much time to learn. I'd probably have to come back in my next life to be able to use it. So when those things come up, you have to think, do I really need this? Is it really worth it? Because it's going to take so much time. So you want to be aware of how Maya will deal with you. And then the other thing is you want to be aware of, if I were to ask you this question, what do you think your weakest link is? Like, where do you think you're most vulnerable to Maya's attack? What is it? You definitely want to be aware of it, because you really need to protect yourself from that. It might be a little thing, it might be a big thing. You might be, very, very Krishna conscious, and it's just a little thing. It's like arguing over philosophy. That's your weakness. You spend hours arguing online with devotees about little points of philosophy that no one's ever going to conclude one way or the other anyway. It could be a little thing, or it could be a big thing. False ego, envy, sexual desire, lust, spending money, working hard to get rich and successful. It could be so many things. So we all want to be aware, what are the big ones? Because every day we're dealing with those big ones, aren't we? Like every day those big ones are in your face. And if you want to pretend they're not there, you want to run away from them. It's not good. You want to be conscious of them. And you want to always be thinking, okay, how am I going to deal with this? These are realities. Now, the other day, I was talking about another problem that I see, that a lot of devotees have in dealing with stuff, and that's called change. Change of job, change of ashram, change of living, change of any, now I'm going to college, now I graduated college. Any major change can be disrupting because it disrupts your patterns, right? When any of you who are not married, who have been married or gotten married, all know that was like a major change, wasn't it? All of a sudden, there's this other mind in my life that I have to take into consideration, this other person. They have their own feelings, desires. Before it was just me. I felt like going out. I went out. I stayed out as long as I wanted. I came back when I wanted. Went to bed when I wanted, ate what I wanted, made a mess if I wanted, got up when I wanted, cleaned if I wanted, didn't clean if I didn't want. And now all of a sudden I'm married. I can't do that. There's another person there. Right? It's a whole different paradigm. And then when you get kids, it's like major paradigm shift. So what I've seen, and going to university also, your first year in university, they work you like an ass. That's basically all you're doing is going to class, eating, taking a nap, and studying. Isn't it? Pretty much, unless you go to some party university and you figure out how not to go to class like I did. It wasn't a party university. We just didn't like going to class. But as I remember my first year in university, that's basically what I did. For my daughter's first year, that's basically what she did. So these are disruptions in your daily schedule. Now what am I going to do? I've got so many hours of classes, so many hours of homework, plus I have a job. This is a major change. So the first thing a devotee always wants to think about is like, when I'm going into this change, we just got married, I just got a job, I just moved to a new city, everything's new, I'm just entering university. The first thing a devotee wants to think is, how am I going to get my round? How am I going to chant my rounds? How am I going to get up? How am I going to read Prabhupada's books? Because once Maya disrupts that, you're pretty much like a boat without an anchor. You've just you've lost it, isn't it? Have you experienced that? Anyone experienced that? You got disrupted by a situation? Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I don't know if this happens for women, but sometimes for a man, he can just meet a woman and after 10 minutes, he's disrupted. He becomes so attracted to her. Like 10 minutes. Maybe for a Gopinath, it was 9 minutes. 9 minutes and 30 seconds. You know, it doesn't take long. I remember when I was a young man, I was doing Sankirtan. Everything's fine, distributing books, everything, you know, every day, 6 days a week. And one day on Sankirtan, I don't know why, where I was, what consciousness I was in. I was distributing a book to one woman, and that was the one woman. And in about 3 minutes, I was like, if she said, let's go, I don't know what I would have done. So, you know, the world is like that. And so things can throw us off very easily. And fortunately, I didn't go with her, but I have godbrothers that did go with hers, not her, but others like her from Sankirtan. What happened to so-and-so, Prabhu? I don't know. And then we find out later what happened. So there's so many things that can throw us off. And so I think this is a very, very important point we need to ask one another. Whenever we're entering these situations, traversing new environments, going or just going through internal difficulties, things come up, you know, like sometimes in your life, things come up. You remember something about your life and you realize, oh, this is really affecting me now, and I didn't know that. So it could be internal also. You know, sometimes people remember traumas from their childhood that they've forgotten, or they thought they had healed, but they realize they haven't. And in those times, we always have to think, how am I going to maintain good sadhana through all of this? That's the first thing, because that's the first place Maya will she'll try to throw you upside down. And that's where she'll get you. And once she does that, then you're in trouble. So dealing with your stuff means how to deal with it in a way that it's not going to, that I do what I have to do to heal, to be responsible in this world, but at the same time, not to be deviated or distracted. So, I mean, I could speak more, but I think, you know, I could speak practically on so many details. I don't know if that's necessary, but I think you have the basic gist of what I'm trying to say here. So maybe we should open it up for questions now. So we have questions in the chat. Should I just read the questions in the chat, or do you want to choose the questions and then read them to me? That'd be better.
I mean, whatever is most practical. If you're in the chat already, you can choose, and I mean, devotees can also speak openly, isn't it?
Yeah. You can speak openly.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much, Prabhu, for this very enlightening class, making me aware of being a sitting duck for Maya. Must be pretty boring, actually, for Maya. So here the devotees. Here's already a question in the room. So first, you can come and speak.
We give first preference to ISKCON Berlin because this
Okay.
class is for them, right? Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the lecture. Basically, all your discussion based on the thesis that you said, Srila Prabhupada gave us the instruction to go back to Godhead.
Yes.
So this also founds in the thought that we need these authorities. And in my mind, the last days is like really the question: so why is it so important that we need this authoritative knowledge?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. It's important. Authority is important because we can only get so far on our own spiritually. because Krishna is transcendental and our mind is material. Unless our mind becomes completely purified, we won't be able to understand his transcendental nature. And on our own, we have limitations of how far we can go. And I think the best proof, or maybe the best way to answer your question, is just by the fact that we're still here in the material world. We've had a long time to try to figure it out. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, I want to figure it out, and say, well, you know, you've had like unlimited numbers of lives to figure it out, and, you know, maybe you should talk to someone who already figured it out. What do you think? Is that a good idea? You know, you ever try something and you're trying to fix it and it seems simple, but you can't, and you tried and tried and tried, and your friend says, why don't you just bring it into an expert? They can fix it. So, it's like that. It's not that as human beings we don't have intelligence. It's not that because we're spirit souls we can understand everything. We can understand everything in a purified state. And so Prabhupada said that the super soul within you can guide you, but you have to be purified enough to hear him. So you need a guru who can help you become purified, so that you can become purified enough to hear the super soul. And when you're purified enough to hear the super soul, he'll guide you. He'll be your authority. But you need authority first. Otherwise, if we didn't need authority, we would have figured it out a long time ago, because we've had millions of lives to figure it out. And so I always joke with the devotees. I say, you know, we're all a bit proud. You know, I'm young, or I'm smart, or I'm talented, or I'm beautiful. We're all proud of something. But actually, the fact that we have a body is nothing to be proud of. The fact we have a body is just a symbol that I haven't figured it out, and I'm still trying to play God to some degree or another. So if we just acknowledge our limitations and approach a spiritual master humbly, we can learn. And that's why in the Bhagavad Gita, tad vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, it says that if you want to learn, you need to go to a guru and you need to bow down, which is, of course, in the Western world, we don't like bowing down to anybody. Although we bow down to money, we bow down to sex, we bow down to fame and so forth. But voluntarily, we're not so used to bowing down to another person. But the bow down means you bow down in the sense that you approach the guru and say, Guru Dev, I'm still here. I have this body. I'm entangled. Can you get me out? I don't know how to get out. That's the humility, acknowledgement. And that's why you have in the Gita, when Arjuna is confused and he's really, really upset, depressed, and anxious because he can't figure it out, he said, okay, Krishna, I surrender. You figure it out. So that's the idea, that we follow Arjuna's footsteps and say, you know, I still have a body. I haven't figured it out. It doesn't mean to minimize your intelligence. It doesn't mean to minimize your intuition. It just means that your intelligence and intuition will have limitations of how far they can take you. And then once you get the instructions from the spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada, you use your intuition and intelligence to understand those instructions. And then someday you become completely purified, and then you can hear Krishna speak to you directly. And in that sense, you don't technically need an authority, although you would still want to follow them. But technically now you're hearing from Super Soul, you're getting guidance. And if you read Prabhupada's books, you'll see how amazing is the guidance Prabhupada gives us, and how we understand things we could never understand on our own. That was my realization reading Bhagavad Gita for the first time. It's like, I kind of understand this, but I don't really understand it to the depth that is necessary to become free from my own enemy, which is my own mind. So that's the idea. So I think one other thing that might help in this area, you know, when you think of authority, that could be a really negative word, you know. Like, for example, if you had a very bad relationship with a woman, then if I talk about women, it'll kind of put a bad taste in your mouth, and you might say, oh, nothing to do with women. Never again, no women. That was just hell. That was a nightmare, what I went through. So, of course, it doesn't mean all women are bad, and it doesn't mean every relationship you have with a woman will be a nightmare. But because you may have suffered so much, the connotation of woman just brings up very bad feelings. So we have authorities that are ignorant. We have authorities that exploit us. We have authorities that don't love us. So don't think of the spiritual master like that. Think of the spiritual master as someone who would never exploit you. The spiritual master is someone who knows because he's basing his knowledge on Scripture, and someone who actually cares about you more than you care about yourself. So it's a different concept of authority, and I think that will help a lot. Otherwise, when we were young, I don't know if it's still the idea today, the motto was question authority. And if you're over 30, we don't trust you. So that was the hippie motto. Don't trust anyone over 30 and question authority. And if it feels good, do it. That was basically the three mantras that, fostered that movement. And you see where that ended up. But it's, when you've been exploited and cheated, it's natural you don't want to trust authority. But the spiritual master is not an authority like that because he has your interest in mind. And like Prabhupada said, Krishna wants you to go back to Godhead even more than you do. So, we could say that Prabhupada loves us more than we even love ourselves because we do so many things which are bad for ourselves, isn't it? Physically, emotionally, spiritually. We do things which are bad for ourselves. Prabhupada has never told us, instructed us to do anything other than that would help us. So he loves us more. So, we have an authority, which is our own mind. But Prabhupada loves us more than our own mind loves us because our own mind doesn't always have our own interest in mind. Even though we think the mind has our interest in mind, it obviously doesn't. But Prabhupada does. So Prabhupada's a greater lover of us than even we are. And when we reject authority, it's because we want to just do what we want. But what we want to do is not always the best thing for us. But what Prabhupada wants us to do, it'll always be the best thing. So he loves you more than you love yourself. So he's the best authority. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So, Devananda, we're going to give ISKCON Berlin first choice, and then we'll... So does anyone else from ISKCON Berlin want to ask a question? Or anyone from Berlin on the Skype? I think most people in Skype are from outside Berlin, except for Malini. Is that true?
Thank you for the nice class. I just want to ask, so Krishna gave Maya the order that she shall distract us. But on the other hand, Krishna loves us very much and he wants much more that we can back than we ourselves want to do this. This sounds a little bit widersprüchlich.
Contradiction.
Paradox.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we have to start with understanding Maya's job before we become devotees. So let's say you go up to Krishna and say, "Hey Krishna, I want to do what you do. You got your own girlfriends, you got your own planet, you have all your own stuff, and everybody serves you. But I want to be in that position." And Krishna says, "Well, if you want to be in that position, you can't do it here in the spiritual world because here I'm the boss, so to speak. This is where everyone serves me. So if you want to do it, we have to create another world where everybody can try to do that." So Maya's job was to create this world to give us the facility to try to be Krishna, to be the enjoyer, be the controller, and so forth. So that's part of her job description. Facilitate the desires of the living entities in this world who want to enjoy without trying to serve Krishna, but want to get everything for themselves without giving it back. So that's her job, right? So if we're not devotees, that makes sense. So if Maya's distracting us, offering us, alluring us with varieties of sense pleasure and so forth, it makes sense because that's what we want, right? That's what we asked for. So she's just giving us what we asked for. Now, what doesn't make sense is I'm a devotee. So why doesn't Maya just say, oh, you're a devotee, so you're released? Maybe the best answer for this is Prabhupada said, don't take Krishna consciousness as something cheap. So let's imagine you become a devotee, you say, I want to be a devotee of Krishna. And then Maya says, okay, no problem. I'll bother somebody else. You're free. And then you think, hey, that was easy, you know. I can just float back to Godhead, no problem. But you actually see it's the problems, the struggle to overcome the Maya that's making you strong. Just like if you know anything about training for sports, especially for boxing. What do the boxers train? They train with other boxers. And if you can train with a boxer that's a better boxer than you, that's better. The baseball players, they lift before they go to the plate to bat. They lift up bats that are heavier than the bat they're going to swing, isn't it? So you need that kind of resistance to become stronger. So Maya provides the resistance. And then Krishna can look at you and say, okay, we're throwing Maya's throwing carrots in front of you. What kind of devotee are you? Do you really want that, or do you want me? So it actually helps us because we have to make these decisions, and it helps us become stronger. So if Maya throws a carrot in front of you and you take that carrot and throw it away, Krishna says, congratulations, you did good. So Krishna's giving you an opportunity to show what you're made of. You know, so Maya comes in the form of fame, wealth, beautiful men, beautiful women. And you say, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasandri. No, I don't want that. Krishna says, yeah, okay, 5 points for you. Let's push you ahead on your way to the spiritual world, you know? Okay. It's like a game. Okay, you go 5 miles ahead. So, but I think the important thing to realize is Maya is only giving us what we originally wanted when we came here. And so now if you're a devotee and she's giving it to you, you have to ask the question, is she giving it to me to test me? Is she giving it to me because I want it? And I think in many cases, she's giving it because the desire is still there. And she's saying, you know, and you're saying, Maya, why are you giving this to me? What would she say? She would say, because I know you still want this. Otherwise, if you didn't want it, I wouldn't give it to you. So when you come to the point where you want nothing but Krishna, Maya's got like nothing to do with you. And then Maya says, fantastic. Now my job is done. I've helped you become Krishna conscious. I will now help you go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said that. Maya will help you go back to Godhead. So the real problem is not Maya. The real problem is we want to dance with Maya. That's where the problem comes. So all I could say is don't dance with Maya. And that will be the title of my next book. Or my next song. Easier to write a song than a book. Don't dance with Maya. We'll do like electronic music one. Don't dance with Maya. Yeah. But there's another thing that Prabhupada said was very interesting. He said, Maya will tell you why you're taking so much trouble. So if you ever hear these voices in your head, there's Krishna consciousness, so much trouble, why should I take so much trouble, etc. Think, Maya's talking to me. Now I can choose to listen or not listen. So if you hear these voices in your head saying, oh, it's so hard, and you gave up so much, and all your friends think you're crazy, and etc., just think, Maya is talking to me. Am I going to listen or am I not going to listen? Am I going to talk to Maya and say, Maya, who needs friends like that? I have devotee friends. And, you know, I'm going to struggle anyway to be successful materially or spiritually. Might as well struggle spiritually. You can talk back. You can reason with her. And she'll look at that and say, okay, this guy, this girl is not interested in me. I'll go bother somebody else. So show Maya that you're not interested in her, and she'll bother your neighbors. But if you show her that you're interested in her, she's going to be knocking on your door. And you're going to say, Maya, why do you keep knocking on my door? Why'd you come back? I told you to go away. And she'll say, I know you want me here. That's why. Because I can see what's in your heart. But if what's in your heart is I just want Krishna, she'll knock on the neighbor's door. That could be another line from the song. She'll knock on the neighbor's door when you're pure. And if she's knocking on your door, then still some work to do, right? Why are you knocking on my door? Because you invited me. I don't go anywhere uninvited. Maya will never come uninvited, believe me. If she's coming, it's because you invited her. And if you accept that, then you can deal with it better. Then when she comes, then you will realize, yep, it's true, I invited her. I'm not going to invite her, right? Don't destroy yourself. Prabhupada has come to bless you. And if you follow his instructions, you'll be blessed. And you'll realize, Maya, she's just helping you. So now your challenge is not to invite her. Now that you're aware that she'll come when you invite her, don't invite her and you'll be fine. Krishna will come instead. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, you could ask more, or the previous question also you could ask more if I didn't answer completely.
Very much. It helped a lot. Thanks.
You're welcome. Dankeschön. Is that how you say it? Dankeschön? Dankeschön? Is that German or is that Norwegian or something? Dankeschön.
It took me a few seconds. Yeah, Dankeschön is German. Pretty
Ja,
German.
good. Ja, good. My father's parents are from Austria.
I see. That's
But
pretty
there
close.
was no when they grew up, there was no such thing as Austria. I think Austria came after the World War I or II or something, didn't it?
Yes.
So
it
basically-
changed. It changed.
yeah. So basically, I'm German. You're good.
You're one of us. Hare Krishna.
I am one of you. With a coat, an American polish over me. I am one of you, but with American polish. Yeah. Okay, another question? We have some from the other devotees, but we're going to give priority to the devotees in the ISKCON temple in Berlin.
So we are eager to hear the questions from the audience online.
Okay. So you can either speak your question or I can read it. Yeah, I don't know if you. We have a comment here. Instagram and WhatsApp not only distract but can destroy chanting japa. So much chanting, finishing rounds at midnight. So my suggestion is that you take the 10th offense in attention to include having your phone on, because just expand on the 10th offense and add, it says not to maintain material attachments, and one should also not be inattentive, and one should not also have their phone on, their pad, or their computer on while chanting. So now we have, as we say, we have all the Vedas on our phone and all the stupidest cat videos as well. So, the Vedas is not the distraction. The other stuff is. Be careful. So can sleeping be a distraction, not waking up early? Sleeping is a distraction if you're sleeping to avoid something. But if you're just sleeping to get energy to serve Krishna, then it's necessary. But not waking up early is a problem for sure, because that's the best time to hear and chant. And so you lose those good hours, those good opportunities. You know, it's like investment. Sometimes they say, here's the window of opportunity. You invest $1, you invest $100, and you'll be a millionaire in 10 years. You know, and then 3 days later, everyone is invested. The stock has shot up 100 times, and you missed your window. So the morning is like a window of opportunity for sadhana. So it's definitely becomes a distraction if you get up late. And tendency is that you'll be less distracted earlier in the morning, right?
May I ask a question?
Yes. Rebecca, where are you? I thought you were in Florida. Yes? But here it says.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I'm in Florida.
Oh, it looks like, you have an online class with Devananda, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, we do they're in Las Vegas and I'm here.
Just started reading this question. Let me just finish, and then I think Malini, was it you who wanted to say something? Yes?
No, I didn't want to say something.
Somebody was talking. Who was
It
talking?
was me. It was Billy.
Okay, let me read this, and then they're having Bhagavad Gita class in Las Vegas. And he was saying that I was saying having accountability groups with devotees for chanting. Someone asking you, how is your job today, has been life-changing. Wow. So accountability group or partner, you can have a partner and you can ask your partner, say, every day at this time, ask me these questions. And you can make the questions that you want to be asked. Like, call me at 10 o'clock and ask me this question. Did you finish your rounds yet? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 excellent, 1 poor, how good were your rounds?
Yes.
You could come up with any question. Did you rise before 5 a.m.? Whatever, because the point is, they're going to ask you the question and you want to say yes to all the questions. But if every day you say no, it makes you think, I'm not doing all the things that I want to do. So that's how an accountability partner can work. Do you want to dance with Maya? Do you want to? And Maya says, will you dance with me tonight? And I say, come on over, I'm ready for another birth. Okay, Billy Lynn wants to ask. That's my song. I don't know if it'll go further than that, but that's where it stands right now. Okay, Billy Lynn wants to ask a question.
Your song is very beautiful, Mahatma Das.
Thank you.
My question is, I had gotten kind of sick a couple of days ago, and I had issues with my joints in my jaw, and I couldn't do japa for a couple of days. So I did like a bunch of rounds all at once when I got better, but they weren't very good quality. Do you know what I mean? And I'm wondering if it would have been better to do the 16 rounds back to normal on the start of the day of recovery and have them be better quality, or was it better to do the 40 rounds and then go back to 16 the next day?
Well, you could have chanted in your mind. So if it ever happens again, just chant in your mind, 16, or whisper. But if you can't move your jaw, chant in your mind. I would say what I would do if I were you, I'd probably chant between 17 and 20 a day till I make up the difference. Because, it's like, what's the use of chanting a bunch of bad rounds? It's like making a bunch of burnt chapatis, I mean, they're chapatis, but they're all burnt. So, like I joke with people, we have 16 Mercedes vans at the temple. Wow. And none of them work. So what's better, one Mercedes van, maybe one Ford van that works, or 16 Mercedes that don't work? Of course, one that works is better. But at the same time, if we are vowed to chant 16, sometimes we do it anyway because we made the vow. So to keep our vow, we chant 16 bad. But in theory, one good is better than 16 bad, but we don't want to give up our vow. So yeah, if I were you, I just would have added one a day, and then in 40 days you'd be back, or however many days you'd be back. But I'm personally not a fan of lots of bad rounds. I don't really see the point of numerous bad rounds. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if you're committing aparad to the holy name, then 100 bad rounds doesn't really help you. 100 rounds with the fence, well, it's like you do 100 push-ups a day, but you do them the wrong way. You just end up pulling your muscle. Something like that.
I think I was just mostly like tired, and I was visualizing happy scenarios, but I wasn't feeling well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to me, that counts as a bad round, and I was frustrated.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes we just have to be dutiful and chant anyway, even when it's difficult. But it's nice that you stuck to making up your rounds. So that's good. But if it happens in the future, then you can chant in your mind, or you can add a few rounds a day. Have you ever chanted when you're really tired? And those are like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 0 being poor, you're at like minus 108 because you have no energy and your mind is like jelly. So it's like sometimes I've been in those situations, like I'll just go to sleep and, I'll chant in the morning. So, I didn't finish my rounds, but Prabhupada said, sometimes you can make your rounds up the next day. And I often figure, I'm so tired, I can't focus. I have no energy to focus. Let me just go to sleep. I'll wake up and I'll finish those rounds. So sometimes those adjustments can be made. Is that okay? Practical. It's just practical.
It's very helpful to hear that I can say them in my mind if I don't feel well physically.
Yeah.
It's good to know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you get very sick, that's basically the only way you can chant. It's just, you're laying on your bed. You don't have energy to get up. You're just thinking the Maha Mantra. And, when you're a pure devotee, the Maha Mantra is always going on, 24/7, within you. You know that story? That this is the story. I don't know. You may have heard it. I haven't validated it, but it sounds like a story, a good story. It's been printed. So anyway, this man was watching Prabhupada doing so many different things, and he said, Prabhupada, you're supposed to be, pure devotee, supposed to be chanting 24 hours a day. And I see, you're dealing with book publication, temple management, guiding disciples. I don't see you chanting. Prabhupada said, come over, put your ear on my back. And he puts his ear on, the man puts his ear on Prabhupada's back, and he hears, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Here's the Maha Mantra going on. So someday, maybe we'll be fortunate in the Maha. So Malini, is there something I didn't talk about, or is it time to stop?
I think you covered everything, but I think we have to ask also Jayadev, since he's in the temple, I'm not. But I think you covered everything. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. In the name of ISKCON Berlin, of our devotees here, I want to thank all of you who joined us online today. Thank you for taking part, and Mahatma Prabhu, thank you for your association and the enlightening and enlivening class today. One thing I want to offer to all of you is a darshan of Lord Jagannath here at our temple.
Yes.
Liebe.
Jai Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath.
Jagannath Swami ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. The class is recorded and will be uploaded on ISKCON Berlin on YouTube, if it's okay for you, Mahatma Prabhu.
Fine. And you can send me a link?
Yeah, we will send you.
I will send you the link.
Okay. Devananda, we didn't get to your question. Are you dying to ask, or was it already?
You wanted more question?
Yeah, one more.
No, Gurudev, Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class. Thank you to all the devotees for inviting us here. I was just going to mention that we were studying the Gita recently in the 5th chapter, and there was a verse in the 23rd verse in the 5th chapter that reads, "Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he's well situated and is happy in this world." And I was reading Burijan Prabhu's kind of commentary on that in his book, Surrender Unto Me.
Yes.
And he looked at it in a way that I would have never got. He said that this verse is kind of the answer to the question of whether Maya ever leaves us alone in the material world, or is she still testing us? And that those words, "before giving up this present body," to him meant that she's testing us until the end. So I thought that was interesting.
It's not a lot to look forward to, is it?
Thank you for a wonderful class, Gurudev.
You're welcome. Okay.
Oh, thank you very much.
Nice being with you all.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, we lost the camera, but better luck next time. Okay. Okay, I will see you when we see you again. Thank you for inviting me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much
for being with us, and hope to see you soon on this channel again. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.